VSA for inviting me to join you all today as part of this extraordinary conference. So we want to acknowledge Ambassador Kennedy Smith, the founder of VSA, and one of the true movers and incredible forces behind arts, and education, and employment for people with disabilities. Her work is to be commended. Let's give her a hand. Thanks for that. I really didn't have comments about Ambassador Kennedy Smith in her remarks, but then she said she was going to make me a star. So I said, I better put something in there about Ambassador Kennedy Smith, which I'm going to come back to in a minute about her making me a star. But I think it's fitting that we are here today, and these issues of education and employment and the arts intersect in such a great way. The President has been a true mover on these issues, both individually and as a collective, bringing these issues together. And frankly, the issues of education and employment for people with disabilities have been issues for many years and many decades. For multiple decades, advocates from across the country, and indeed from around the world, young and old, black, white, Latino, Asian, and others, those with and without disabilities, have fought, bled, negotiated, suffered, and triumphed. And in that time, progress has been made. 35 years ago, the United States of America passed what is now known as the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And in its truest sense, it was designed to ensure that every child receives a world-class education on par with his or her peers. And 20 years ago, the United States passed the landmark civil rights legislation of our time, the Americans with Disabilities Act, which at its core had as its mission to make society open and accessible to all, from demanding that public places such as hotels, theaters, businesses be accessible and available to everyone, to setting the standard for reasonable accommodations. This legislation signaled that no longer would people with disabilities be treated as second-class citizens, and our civil and indeed our human rights would be protected and honored. This year, we celebrate that legislation and the 20th anniversary of the hard work of all people with disabilities, from America to around the world. And this past Sunday, as Sula mentioned, Valerie Jarrett, Senior Advisor to President Obama, launched the President's celebration of the 20th anniversary for this historic legislation. And Valerie discussed the fact that over the upcoming weeks and months ahead, we would be launching new policies, having events, the agencies would be having events and launching new policies to recognize and celebrate this historic legislation. Whether it is the ADA or the Rehabilitation Act, from No Child Left Behind to healthcare reform, just signed or recently signed by the President. Statutes have been written, laws have been passed, court cases have been won and lost, regulations have been promulgated, presidents have come and gone. Congress has changed hands from Democrat to Republican and back again. These laws and regulations demonstrate that progress has been made, but we still have much work to do. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And that light was shining a little bit bright when President Obama took office. And indeed, when he took office, and right before he took office, he demonstrated his commitment to the arts and the critical nature, the critical role that arts plays each and every day in our lives and in our educational institutions. And it began with his commitment of $50 million for the National Endowment for the Arts, to provide additional grants for arts, institutions, and educational opportunities. For the President has said time and time again that, in fact, arts play a critical role in who we are as a nation, and it's part of the cultural and indeed the entire fabric of America. And we must honor those arts, and we must make sure that arts and cultural expression remain a part of who we are as a country and are not forgotten. For they play a critical role in making sure that kids receive a balanced and versatile education. They play a critical role in employing people with disabilities and all people all over the world. And so they must not be forgotten. And they will not be forgotten with this administration. And I myself personally am extraordinarily pleased to be working on the arts at the White House as well as disability policy for the President. I am a true fan of the arts. And I like to, when I talk to people that are involved with the arts, I know that you all are very, can be very critical, and you all need to know, what are your bona fides? Do you have any bona fides when it comes to the arts? Well, I can tell you, I have bona fides. And I'm going to explain those to you so that you will then say, wow, okay, we weren't paying attention to what he said, but now he's one of us. I really have a true passion for the arts. I'm from Chicago, just like the President, and as David Axelrod is fond of saying, we are just Chicagoans on assignment. But in my time in Chicago, as I was telling Ambassador Smith before I came up here, I am an actor in my heart. My truest heart of hearts, I've always wanted to be an actor. And so I've done the high school plays, the college plays, but even after college, and right before starting my career, I acted in theaters in Chicago. Well, not plural, theater, I should say, in Chicago. And I performed at a small African-American theater in Chicago called the Black Ensemble Theater. And it's been around for about 35, close to 40 years. And 9 years, I'm president of the board for an additional, for 4 years of those 9 years. And so I know the issues that are faced by arts institutions that are serving populations that have traditionally been disadvantaged, whether because of ethnicity or whether because of disability. And it is a true passion of mine. And at the Black Ensemble Theater, the proudest, the thing that I am most proud of that we did at the Black Ensemble Theater was not the fact that we produced extraordinary plays, which we did, which I, of course, had no part in, but I take full credit. But the thing that I'm most proud of is our educational programs and outreach, both for underserved populations and including people with disabilities. We were integrally involved with the Chicago school system and a part of their curriculum when Arnie Duncan was there as the superintendent, and we had programs and we would go into the classroom and teach kids about learning through using the arts and using the arts to help express yourself in a positive way rather than in negative ways. We had programs for mothers and fathers who came from disadvantaged homes. We had programs for those with mental and intellectual disabilities where we used the arts to help teach them how to learn better and how to express themselves better. And we had many, many other programs for kids across the Chicagoland area. And I am most proud of that work that we did to help change the lives of kids with and without disabilities and those who were struggling along, and we used the arts to help them improve themselves. And so that work that we did was phenomenal. I'm very proud of that work, but I say that so that you understand that at the White House there are people who understand the arts, who believe in the arts, who support the arts, and know that the arts play a critical role in educating the youth of tomorrow and employing people all over the world. So as an administration, I think that right now we stand poised as an administration and as a country, we stand poised ready to make a real change for employment and education and in the arts. Just recently, we've made substantial progress on education, from instituting laws around restraint and seclusion, instituting, I should say, new policies around restraint and seclusion. And Secretary Duncan has committed that children with disabilities will not be left behind, both in arts and in education. So I challenge each and every one of us, both inside and outside the government, both employers and employees, arts institutions and arts connoisseurs. Let us recommit to the principles of equality for all, and let's produce some great plays and educate the youth of tomorrow. Your time is now. Our time is now. Together, we can ensure that people with disabilities will achieve, be great, work, be productive members of society, support their families, and be role models for others. Thank you very much.